Ladies and gentlemen, boundaries are the invisible lines that define our values, protect our peace, and shape our destiny. They are not walls to isolate us, but guidelines that help us maintain balance, integrity, and purpose. Today, let us explore 7 boundaries everyone must set to live a life of clarity and fulfillment. The boundary of your relationships. Relationships are one of the most influential aspects of our lives. The people we choose to surround ourselves with have the power to shape our mindset, our emotions, and ultimately our destiny. While relationships can be a source of strength, encouragement, and inspiration, they can also become a source of stress, toxicity, and distraction if boundaries are not established. Setting boundaries in relationships is essential to protect your peace, maintain your values, and ensure that the connections in your life align with your purpose. The first step in setting boundaries in relationships is understanding the role people play in your life. Not everyone is meant to have unlimited access to you. There are different levels of relationships: family, friends, colleagues, acquaintances, and each should have its appropriate boundary. When you fail to recognize these distinctions, you risk overinvesting in relationships that are not mutually beneficial or draining yourself in trying to meet everyone's expectations. Boundaries in relationships start with self-awareness. You must first define what is important to you, your values, priorities, and non-negotiables. When you are clear about who you are and what you stand for, it becomes easier to recognize when someone is crossing a line. Too often, people struggle with boundaries because they haven't taken the time to establish what they are willing to accept and what they are not. Knowing yourself is the foundation of setting healthy limits with others. One of the most challenging aspects of setting boundaries in relationships is learning to say no. Many people fear that saying no will hurt someone's feelings or damage the relationship. However, saying no is not a rejection of the person, it is a preservation of your well-being and priorities. When you say yes to things that compromise your peace or stretch you too thin, you are ultimately doing both yourself and the other person a disservice. Healthy relationships thrive on mutual respect, and respect includes honoring each other's limits. Toxic relationships are one of the greatest threats to your emotional and mental well-being. Toxicity can come in many forms: manipulation, excessive criticism, constant negativity, or disregard for your boundaries. When you allow toxic people to remain in your life unchecked, they drain your energy and hinder your growth. Setting boundaries in these situations requires courage. It may mean having difficult conversations, limiting contact, or even cutting ties when the relationship becomes detrimental to your health and purpose. Another critical aspect of relational boundaries is managing expectations. Every relationship comes with expectations, spoken or unspoken. Problems arise when these expectations are unrealistic or one-sided. You cannot be everything to everyone, nor can you expect others to fulfill all your needs. Clear communication is key to managing expectations. Be honest about what you can and cannot give, and encourage others to do the same. When expectations are aligned, relationships become a source of support rather than a burden. Time is another area where boundaries in relationships are crucial. Just as you must protect your time for your personal goals and priorities, you must also set limits on how much time you devote to others. Some people will demand more of your time than you can reasonably give. It is important to balance the time you spend nurturing relationships with the time you need for yourself. Relationships should complement your life, not consume it. Healthy boundaries also mean not tolerating disrespect. Respect is the foundation of any meaningful relationship. If someone continually disrespects your values, dismisses your feelings, or undermines your goals, it is a clear sign that boundaries need to be established. Respect is not something you should have to negotiate for. It is a basic requirement for anyone who wants to remain in your life. Vulnerability is another area where boundaries are essential. While it is important to be open and honest in relationships, not everyone deserves access to the deepest parts of your life. Sharing too much too soon or with the wrong person can lead to misunderstandings, betrayal, or emotional harm. Trust is earned over time, and boundaries help ensure that your vulnerability is shared with those who have proven they can handle it with care. Lastly, setting boundaries in relationships means being intentional about the energy you allow into your life. Positive relationships bring encouragement, motivation, and growth, while negative relationships breed doubt, fear, and stagnation. Evaluate the impact of each relationship on your life. Are the people around you lifting you higher, or are they pulling you down? Choose to invest your energy in relationships that align with your values and contribute to your overall well-being. Time is the most valuable resource you possess. Unlike money or material possessions, once time is spent, it cannot be regained. It is a gift that is constantly flowing, silently slipping through the hourglass of life. Yet so many people live as though their time is unlimited, scattering it aimlessly on things and people that do not contribute to their growth, purpose, or destiny. Setting boundaries for your time is not a luxury, it is a necessity for anyone who seeks to live a life of meaning, fulfillment, and impact. The first step to setting a boundary around your time is understanding its value. Too often, we allow others to dictate how we spend our days. We say yes to unnecessary meetings, waste hours scrolling through social media, or engage in conversations that add no value to our lives. We live as though we owe our time to everyone and everything except ourselves. However, your time is not for sale to the highest bidder. It is yours to manage, and how you use it will either lead you closer to your goals or further away from them. One of the greatest mistakes people make is confusing activity with productivity. Just because you are busy does not mean you are effective. Time without purpose is simply energy wasted. You must set clear priorities that align with your vision and goals. What is most important in your life? What tasks and activities contribute to your personal growth, your relationships, and your calling? When you establish these priorities, you create a filter through which all demands on your time must pass. If something does not align with your purpose, it does not deserve your time. Boundaries around your time also require the discipline of saying no. Saying no is not a rejection of people, it is a protection of purpose. Many of us struggle with the fear of disappointing others, so we overcommit and stretch ourselves thin. But every time you say yes to something that does not matter, you are saying no to something that does. No one can be everywhere at once or fulfill every request. You must understand that every yes carries a cost, and that cost is your time you could have spent on what truly matters. Another crucial aspect of time management is creating structure in your day. Without structure, your time becomes vulnerable to distraction and procrastination. Establish routines that reflect your priorities. Block out specific hours for work, rest, relationships, and personal development. Treat these blocks of time as sacred, non-negotiable commitments to yourself. This structure will not only increase your productivity, but also create a sense of balance and peace in your life. Equally important is learning to identify and eliminate time thieves. Time thieves are those activities, habits, or people that drain your time without adding value to your life. They come in many forms: excessive television, pointless arguments, endless scrolling, or even toxic relationships that demand your energy but offer nothing in return. Identifying these thieves is not about being harsh or unkind. It is about taking responsibility for how you allocate your most precious resource. Setting boundaries for your time also means being intentional about rest and renewal. Many people equate productivity with constant activity, but this is a misconception. Rest is not a waste of time, it is a necessary investment in your well-being and effectiveness. Without proper rest, your energy depletes, your focus diminishes, and your ability to perform declines. Create time for rest, reflection, and activities that recharge your mind, body, and spirit. This is not laziness, it is stewardship of your most valuable asset. Technology, while a powerful tool, is another area where time boundaries are essential. In today's world, we are constantly bombarded with notifications, emails, and messages demanding our attention. If we are not careful, these interruptions can dominate our days, leaving us feeling reactive rather than proactive. Set boundaries around your use of technology. Turn off unnecessary notifications, designate specific times to check emails, and avoid the trap of endlessly scrolling through social media. Use technology as a tool to enhance your life, not as a master that controls it. Lastly, the boundary of your time requires you to regularly reflect and recalibrate. Life is dynamic, and so are your priorities. What mattered deeply to you a year ago may no longer be relevant today. Take time to evaluate how you are spending your time and whether it aligns with your current goals and values. This reflection allows you to make adjustments, ensuring that your time remains aligned with your evolving purpose. Setting boundaries around your time is not about being rigid or inflexible. It is about living intentionally. It is about recognizing that every second is a gift and choosing to spend it wisely. The boundary of your thoughts. Your mind is the most powerful asset you possess, and your thoughts shape the reality in which you live. The boundaries you set around your thoughts determine whether you thrive or remain trapped in cycles of negativity, fear, and self-doubt. While external circumstances may influence your life, it is the internal dialogue of your thoughts that ultimately governs your actions, decisions, and the trajectory of your destiny. Without proper boundaries for your thoughts, you risk becoming a prisoner to emotions, opinions, and distractions that derail you from your purpose. The first step in setting boundaries for your thoughts is recognizing that you have control over them. Many people live as though their thoughts are random and uncontrollable, allowing them to run unchecked and unfiltered. But you are not at the mercy of every idea or emotion that enters your mind. You have the power to choose which thoughts you dwell on, which to reject, and which to nurture. Setting boundaries begins with understanding that your mind is your territory, and not every thought deserves residency. Negative thoughts are one of the most common invaders of mental peace. Thoughts of fear, inadequacy, and failure can easily dominate your mind if you do not actively set boundaries. These thoughts often arise from past experiences, societal pressures, or the opinions of others. They plant seeds of doubt that grow into barriers, preventing you from stepping into your full potential. To combat these invaders, you must develop a practice of self-awareness. Identify the triggers that lead to negative thinking and create strategies to redirect your focus when those thoughts arise. One effective strategy is to challenge negative thoughts with truth. When a thought tells you that you are not capable, replace it with evidence of your abilities and past successes. When fear whispers that you will fail, remind yourself of the courage it takes to try. This process of replacing lies with truth requires discipline and consistency. It is not enough to recognize negative thoughts. You must actively confront them and refuse to allow them to take root. Setting boundaries for your thoughts also means guarding your mind against external influences. In today's world, we are constantly bombarded with information from social media, news outlets, and the opinions of others. If you are not careful, these external voices can infiltrate your mind and shape your thoughts in ways that are not aligned with your values or purpose. Be intentional about the content you consume and the conversations you engage in. Surround yourself with voices that uplift, inspire, and challenge you to grow. Comparison is another area where mental boundaries are essential. In the age of social media, it is easy to fall into the trap of comparing your life to the curated highlights of others. These comparisons can lead to feelings of inadequacy, jealousy, and dissatisfaction. To set boundaries, remind yourself that everyone's journey is unique. Focus on your own growth and progress rather than measuring your worth against someone else's achievements. Gratitude is a powerful tool for combating the negativity of comparison. By appreciating what you have and who you are, you create a mental environment of contentment and peace. Another critical boundary is learning to filter the inner critic. Every person has an internal voice that comments on their actions, decisions, and even their worth. While constructive self-reflection is valuable, the inner critic often becomes harsh and destructive. It magnifies mistakes, minimizes accomplishments, and feeds feelings of shame and self-doubt. To set boundaries, you must learn to differentiate between constructive feedback and unnecessary criticism. Treat yourself with the same kindness and understanding that you would offer to a friend. Boundaries around your thoughts also require you to make room for stillness and clarity. A cluttered mind is incapable of creative thinking or meaningful reflection. In the busyness of life, your thoughts can become overwhelmed with to-do lists, worries, and distractions. Take intentional time to quiet your mind through practices like meditation, prayer, or simply sitting in silence. These moments of stillness allow you to regain focus, hear your inner voice, and align your thoughts with your purpose. It is also important to set boundaries against dwelling on the past. While reflecting on past experiences can offer valuable lessons, living in regret or constantly replaying mistakes keeps you stuck in a cycle of negativity. The past cannot be changed, but your perspective on it can. Choose to see your past as a foundation for growth rather than a source of shame. Focus your thoughts on the present moment and the opportunities that lie ahead. Lastly, setting boundaries for your thoughts means cultivating a mindset of possibility. Too often, we limit ourselves by thinking small or focusing on obstacles rather than opportunities. When you allow your mind to dwell on the possibilities, you open yourself to new ideas, solutions, and paths forward. Surround yourself with positive affirmations and people who encourage you to dream big and think boldly. Your thoughts have the power to shape your reality, and by setting boundaries, you ensure that your mental energy is directed toward building a life of purpose, peace, and progress. The boundary of your words. Words are one of the most powerful tools you possess. They have the ability to build up or tear down, to inspire or discourage, to heal or harm. The words you speak not only impact those around you, but also shape your own life. Yet too often, people underestimate the weight of their words, speaking carelessly or out of emotion without considering the long-term consequences. Setting boundaries around your words is essential for living with integrity, preserving relationships, and cultivating an atmosphere of respect and accountability. The first step in establishing boundaries around your words is to recognize the immense power they hold. Words can create opportunities or close doors. They can ignite confidence or instill doubt. What you say has the ability to linger in someone's heart and mind far longer than you may realize. This is why it is so important to be intentional about what you say, ensuring that your words align with your values and the outcomes you wish to achieve. One of the most critical boundaries is learning when to speak and when to remain silent. Not every thought you have needs to be vocalized, and not every situation requires your opinion. Speaking out of turn or offering unsolicited advice can lead to unnecessary conflict and misunderstandings. Silence, on the other hand, is often a demonstration of wisdom and restraint. It gives you the time to process your emotions, gather your thoughts, and respond thoughtfully rather than reacting impulsively. Emotional reactions are one of the greatest threats to the boundary of your words. When you speak out of anger, frustration, or hurt, your words are often harsher than intended, and their impact can be long-lasting. While it is natural to feel emotions, it is important to take a moment to pause and reflect before speaking. Ask yourself whether your words will contribute to resolving the situation or if they will only escalate tensions. By choosing your words carefully, you maintain control over your emotions rather than letting your emotions control you. Another boundary is refraining from gossip and slander. Speaking negatively about others behind their backs not only damages their reputation but also undermines your own credibility and character. Gossip may seem harmless in the moment, but it erodes trust and sows division. To set this boundary, commit to speaking only what is true, necessary, and kind. If a conversation does not serve to uplift or resolve, it is better left unsaid. Boundaries around your words also involve speaking truth with grace. There will be times when honesty is required, even if the truth is difficult to hear. However, being truthful does not mean being harsh or cruel. The way you deliver your message matters as much as the message itself. Speak with empathy, considering how your words will be received and how they might affect the other person. Truth delivered with compassion builds bridges, while truth delivered with arrogance or indifference creates walls. Another important aspect of setting boundaries is avoiding exaggeration and dishonesty. Integrity in your words builds trust, while dishonesty erodes it. Even small lies or exaggerations can lead to larger issues down the line as people begin to question your reliability. When you commit to speaking the truth, you establish yourself as someone others can depend on, both in your personal and professional relationships. Boundaries also mean not allowing others to dictate your words. There will always be pressure to conform, to say what others want to hear, or to remain silent when you should speak up. However, compromising your values or remaining silent in the face of injustice goes against the principles of integrity. Setting boundaries around your words includes having the courage to stand by your convictions, even when it is uncomfortable or unpopular. Another vital boundary is being mindful of how you speak to yourself. The internal dialogue you have, your self-talk, can either propel you forward or hold you back. Negative self-talk, such as calling yourself inadequate or unworthy, limits your potential and undermines your confidence. To set boundaries, commit to speaking to yourself with the same kindness and encouragement you would offer to a loved one. Replace critical, self-defeating words with affirmations that build your faith in your abilities and purpose. Additionally, setting boundaries around your words requires understanding the power of listening. Communication is not just about what you say, but also about how well you listen. When you truly listen to others, you show respect for their thoughts and feelings, creating an environment where open and honest dialogue can thrive. Boundaries help you resist the temptation to interrupt, dominate conversations, or dismiss someone's perspective. Finally, remember that words should reflect your character and purpose. Before speaking, ask yourself whether your words are necessary, constructive, and aligned with who you are striving to be. By setting boundaries around your words, you create a space where communication becomes a tool for growth, understanding, and connection rather than a source of conflict or harm. The boundary of your resources. Your resources are more than just your finances. They encompass your time, energy, skills, and possessions. They represent the tools and assets you've been entrusted with to navigate through life, achieve your goals, and contribute to the well-being of others. However, if you fail to establish boundaries around your resources, they can easily be drained, misused, or squandered. Properly managing and safeguarding your resources requires intentionality, discipline, and a clear understanding of their value. Setting boundaries around your resources begins with recognizing that they are finite. Whether it's your money, time, or energy, these resources are not unlimited, and how you allocate them determines the quality of your life and the outcomes you achieve. Many people operate under the illusion that they can give endlessly without consequence, but this often leads to burnout, financial instability, and emotional exhaustion. Boundaries ensure that your resources are used wisely, aligning with your priorities and purpose. One key boundary is learning to say no. This can be particularly challenging when others make demands on your time, money, or abilities. While generosity and kindness are important virtues, overextending yourself to meet everyone's needs often comes at the expense of your own well-being. Saying no is not a sign of selfishness. It is a recognition of your limits and a commitment to preserving your resources for what truly matters. Before agreeing to a request, ask yourself whether it aligns with your goals, values, and current capacity. Another critical boundary involves managing your finances. Money is one of the most tangible resources, yet it is also one of the easiest to misuse. Without boundaries, you may find yourself overspending, accumulating debt, or failing to save for the future. Setting financial boundaries requires creating a budget and sticking to it. Identify your needs versus your wants, and prioritize spending on essentials and investments that yield long-term benefits. Avoid impulsive purchases and be cautious about lending money to others without clear terms or an understanding of their ability to repay. Boundaries around your resources also extend to your time. Time is perhaps the most valuable resource because it cannot be replenished. Every moment you spend on one activity is a moment you cannot spend elsewhere. This is why it is crucial to guard your time against distractions, procrastination, and unproductive commitments. Establishing boundaries means learning to prioritize tasks that align with your goals and eliminate activities that do not add value. Use tools like schedules, to-do lists, and time blocks to manage your day effectively and ensure that your time is spent intentionally. Energy is another resource that requires boundaries. Your physical, emotional, and mental energy are not limitless, and overextending yourself can lead to fatigue, stress, and decreased productivity. Setting boundaries around your energy involves recognizing your capacity and pacing yourself accordingly. Pay attention to the activities, environments, and people that drain you, and take steps to limit your exposure to them. At the same time, invest in activities that recharge you, such as exercise, rest, and hobbies that bring joy and fulfillment. Your skills and talents are also valuable resources that deserve boundaries. While it's important to use your abilities to help others and achieve your goals, overcommitting to too many projects or responsibilities can dilute the impact of your efforts. Focus on areas where your skills can make the greatest difference and be selective about the opportunities you pursue. Remember that saying yes to every opportunity often means saying no to excellence in the areas that matter most. Your possessions, though often overlooked, are another resource that requires boundaries. Material possessions, when mismanaged, can lead to clutter, stress, and financial strain. Establishing boundaries around your possessions means practicing contentment and resisting the urge to acquire more than you need. Regularly evaluate what you own and consider donating or discarding items that no longer serve a purpose. This not only creates physical space, but also frees your mind from the burden of unnecessary possessions. Boundaries also involve protecting your resources from being exploited by others. There will always be people who seek to take advantage of your generosity, time, or skills without reciprocating or appreciating their value. Setting boundaries means learning to recognize these patterns and standing firm in your decisions. Communicate your limits clearly and confidently, and do not allow guilt or pressure to sway you into overextending yourself. Finally, setting boundaries around your resources involves aligning them with your purpose. Every resource you have, whether it's your money, time, energy, skills, or possessions, should be directed toward goals and activities that reflect your values and aspirations. Regularly assess how your resources are being used and make adjustments as needed to ensure they are contributing to a life of purpose, fulfillment, and impact. By setting boundaries, you take control of your resources, ensuring they are preserved, protected, and used to their fullest potential. Your vision is the compass that guides your life. It defines your purpose, shapes your decisions, and fuels your ambition. It is the image of the future you are working toward and the standard by which you measure your progress. Without vision, life becomes directionless, reactive, and uncertain, but having vision alone is not enough. It must be protected, nurtured, and guided by clear boundaries. These boundaries ensure that your vision remains strong and resilient, even in the face of distraction, criticism, and adversity. Setting boundaries around your vision begins with clarity. A vision that is vague or undefined is vulnerable to being influenced or derailed by external forces. Take the time to articulate your vision in specific and measurable terms. What does success look like to you? What are the values and principles that underpin your vision? Answering these questions helps you establish a clear framework for your aspirations, making it easier to set boundaries that protect them. One essential boundary is protecting your vision from the opinions of others. Not everyone will understand or support your goals, and some may even try to discourage you from pursuing them. While feedback and advice can be valuable, it's important to discern whose opinions you allow to influence you. Seek guidance from those who share your values and have experience or wisdom in the areas you are pursuing. At the same time, learn to filter out negativity and criticism that is not constructive or rooted in genuine concern. Another critical boundary involves guarding your vision against distractions. In today's world, there are countless opportunities and demands competing for your attention. While some may seem exciting or worthwhile, they may not align with your ultimate goals. To maintain focus, set boundaries that prioritize your vision over fleeting distractions. This could mean saying no to opportunities that pull you away from your path, limiting time spent on unproductive activities, or creating a daily routine that keeps your vision at the forefront of your mind. Your environment plays a significant role in shaping and supporting your vision. Surround yourself with people, resources, and experiences that align with your goals and inspire growth. Setting boundaries in your environment may mean distancing yourself from toxic relationships, avoiding negative influences, and seeking out communities that encourage and challenge you to become your best self. A supportive environment reinforces your vision, while a toxic one can erode it over time. The boundary of your vision also requires protecting it from impatience. Building a meaningful life or achieving significant goals is rarely a quick or easy process. The temptation to take shortcuts or abandon your vision in favor of immediate gratification can be strong, but it often leads to regret and setbacks. Establish boundaries that remind you to trust the process and stay committed to your long-term goals, even when progress feels slow or difficult. Patience and perseverance are essential for turning your vision into reality. Another important boundary is resisting the urge to compare your vision to others. In a world dominated by social media and constant exposure to other people's successes, it's easy to fall into the trap of comparison. This can lead to feelings of inadequacy, envy, or a desire to imitate others rather than staying true to your unique path. Setting boundaries means focusing on your own progress and celebrating your achievements without being influenced by what others are doing. Your vision is yours alone, and its worth is not determined by how it measures up to someone else's. Guarding your vision also involves maintaining consistency and discipline. Dreams and aspirations often fade when they are not accompanied by sustained effort and commitment. Set boundaries that ensure your daily actions align with your vision. Create habits, routines, and systems that keep you on track and hold yourself accountable for making progress. Avoid complacency and remember that every small step you take brings you closer to your goals. Finally, the boundary of your vision includes protecting it from fear and self-doubt. The journey toward your vision will inevitably involve challenges, setbacks, and uncertainties. Fear of failure or criticism can tempt you to abandon your dreams or settle for less than you are capable of achieving. Setting boundaries means acknowledging these fears without allowing them to dictate your decisions. Cultivate a mindset of faith, courage, and resilience, and remind yourself that your vision is worth pursuing, no matter the obstacles. Your faith and values form the foundation of your identity and purpose. They are the guiding principles that shape your decisions, relationships, and the way you navigate the world. Without clear boundaries around your faith and values, it becomes easy to compromise, lose direction, or allow external influences to dictate your actions. To live a life of integrity and conviction, you must establish and protect the boundaries that safeguard your beliefs and principles. The first step in setting boundaries around your faith and values is clarity. You must know what you believe and why you believe it. Take time to reflect on your core convictions, the truths that anchor your life, and the values that define your character. Whether it is honesty, humility, kindness, or discipline, knowing these values in detail allows you to draw clear lines that you will not cross, no matter the circumstances. Clarity gives you strength and conviction when faced with challenges or temptations that threaten to compromise your principles. One crucial boundary involves protecting your faith and values from external pressures. Society, culture, and even close relationships can exert immense pressure to conform or compromise. It is easy to feel swayed by the opinions of others or the demands of a world that often celebrates convenience over conviction. Setting boundaries means standing firm in what you believe, even when it is unpopular or inconvenient. It means resisting the urge to dilute your faith or values to fit in or gain approval. Guarding your faith and values also requires vigilance against internal challenges. Doubts, fears, and desires can sometimes lead you to question or waver in your convictions. These moments are not a sign of weakness, but an opportunity to reaffirm your commitment to your principles. Establish boundaries that allow you to pause, reflect, and seek wisdom when faced with inner conflict. Prayer, meditation, or time in reflection can help you strengthen your faith and realign with your values when they feel under attack. Your environment plays a critical role in reinforcing or undermining your faith and values. The people you associate with, the content you consume, and the places you frequent all influence your beliefs and actions. Setting boundaries means choosing relationships, activities, and environments that align with and support your principles. Surround yourself with individuals who respect your values, challenge you to grow, and encourage you to stay true to your faith. At the same time, be cautious about influences that may erode your convictions or tempt you to compromise. Time is another resource that must be managed within the boundaries of your faith and values. How you spend your time reflects what you prioritize and believe in. If faith and values are central to your life, then allocate time to nurture and practice them. This could involve attending worship services, studying spiritual texts, engaging in acts of service, or spending time in personal reflection. Setting boundaries around your time ensures that your faith and values remain an active and intentional part of your life, rather than something that is sidelined or forgotten in the busyness of daily routines. Boundaries around your faith and values also mean being selective about the compromises you are willing to make. Life often presents situations where you must weigh competing priorities or navigate gray areas. In these moments, your boundaries serve as a compass, helping you discern the right path. Ask yourself whether a decision aligns with your principles and whether it will bring you closer to or further from the person you aspire to be. Remember that small compromises, when repeated, can lead to significant deviations from your core values over time. Another critical boundary involves protecting your faith and values from cynicism and negativity. The world is often filled with challenges, disappointments, and injustices that can test your belief in goodness, hope, and purpose. It is easy to grow disillusioned and allow bitterness or despair to take root. Establish boundaries that shield your faith from these corrosive forces. Seek out sources of inspiration, surround yourself with positivity, and remind yourself of the reasons for your hope and convictions. Finally, setting boundaries around your faith and values requires a commitment to integrity. Integrity means living in alignment with your beliefs, not just in public but also in private. It means being the same person in your actions, words, and thoughts, regardless of who is watching. Establishing boundaries that foster integrity involves holding yourself accountable and being willing to admit and correct mistakes when you fall short. Integrity strengthens your faith and values, making them a consistent and reliable guide in every aspect of your life.